Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Michelle Bathay, and this is a bittersweet day for me because it's the final day of my Paradise podcast hosting duties. So if for some reason you haven't watched the finale, go do that because spoilers. And remember, you can stream seasons 1 and 2 of Paradise on Disney+. We've got the incredible Julianne Nicholson here with us to unpack that finish and to help us say farewell to one of the greatest all-time villains of villainry canon, Julianne. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to start after seeing that finish. Do you know where to start?
What can I say? I mean, I think Dan had this idea from the beginning of the season. Even I didn't get the episode until well into the season, of how it would all wind up for her. I mean, it's such a beautiful ending, and I love it because I feel like, I love Sinatra, and she was given such a hard time by everyone, which I understand in season 1. But I feel like the way Dan's written her, like to end her in with like the ultimate sacrifice, felt like a fitting way to say goodbye. And I loved that he gave her that moment. And when I watched it, I cried. Even I knew it was coming, and I was still like, I found it very moving, to watch this woman go down with the ship.
In season 1, when you use Xavier's child as collateral, especially as someone who should know, if anybody should know better, you should know better. And without blinking, without hesitation, you send the worst of the worst after Xavier's child. And I was done with you. And then, when Xavier has the gun trained on you, I was like, well, this is gonna be satisfying, right? It was like, bye, Sinatra.
What the fuck did you do?
We think in season 1 that Paradise is your, piece de resistance.
Yeah, is the end game.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's actually Alex.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Which we had no idea about when we were filming season 1. That was what I knew, and it was about Paradise, and she's creating this thing for people when that day happens, which it does. And then Dan was like, oh, so while that was happening, also this was happening. And then we, heard about quantum physics and much more of like sci-fi elements
Yes.
to the world as well.
Yeah, which starts, can you tell us what Sinatra / Julianne thinks Alex is? Because I don't know that we've ever gotten from anyone in this podcast a real, what is Alex?
So
for real.
So I don't know really, because honestly, Dan would tell us, the writers would tell us, because for that, and I would just be like, okay. But it's like, I had like a loose understanding, but I wouldn't want to be tested on it.
Okay, so I will not test you.
Yeah.
But what I will then say is, let's go back to what do you know and what can you help us now that we know how it all ends up in terms of the audience and Alex being your end game. Do you know what you were trying to get, or what the technology was that the professor had that you needed to?
Right, that I needed for Alex. So no, there's those scenes, right, with Dylan in the first couple of episodes where he's with that professor and they're like, I think they're building something, but I don't, honestly, I just like, okay, that sounds good. I don't know what that means at all. I don't know what that means.
But you knew that you needed it in the bunker.
I knew that
when
I needed,
you try
yes.
to get this guy, when you meet Billy Pace for the first time.
Yes.
Right?
We need this to go forward. Because also, as the guy said, when the shit hits the fan in season 1 and the world where you find us, and the world is like, apocalypse out there. And then as the doctor tells us, or the guy that I speak with in episode 3, where he's like, okay, then the sun comes out and things start growing again. And you think, but then it becomes even worse. And like oceans freeze and the sun goes black. And so it gets even worse than what initially happens.
Anybody still around for that will wish they died on the very first day.
And so we need Alex to sort of help the world.
That's right. He does say that. There's that one, and it's just one little sentence, and he's like, just when you think it's safe to go back in the water, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's far worse. You're gonna wish that you just died on the first day. Because you think it's, oh, look, the sun's coming out and we can eat this plant and this, and then it's just gonna, it like doubles down and there's no oxygen and it just gets worse.
Wow. So
Alex is gonna help with that.
Okay, Alex is gonna help. We know Alex is gonna help with that somehow. And listen, I take everything back. Everything you did was you're just trying to save the planet. Save everyone you can.
Yes.
Sinatra's a good little girl.
Exactly. She's just trying to do the right thing.
Just trying to do when everybody else has done the wrong thing, you know what I mean? Really, at the end of the day, like that's the flip side of this whole thing, is that everyone else has done the wrong thing up until this point. And you're left Sinatra's the one billionaire who's left holding the bag.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because even in
those
the bunker,
other fools aren't doing anything, sitting around the table.
And we don't even know who they are. Are they even billionaires? They don't count.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I don't think. I think there was like maybe one or two world leaders, maybe a king, a queen. Who cares?
Exactly.
So what? Who cares? We got Sinatra, the leader of the free world at this point, and what you're trying to accomplish in terms of trying to make it seem like none of this ever even happens. Even if Paradise was able to maintain itself, it still couldn't last whatever the worst part that we know is that the guy says is coming. Yep. Even Paradise couldn't have withstood that.
Yeah.
Yep. So we spent all of this time, I spent all of this time just being like, when is she gonna get her justice?
Yeah. A lot of people shared your feelings.
Right? Because it's like you're just so focused on your own rightness, no matter who gets hurt, right? And then there you are, the world's falling apart, and all you do one thing, you literally just, you go. And then, and my heart is like, but I love her. I didn't know until this moment.
Sinatra.
I was like, I've loved her this whole time. I felt like, in those movies where like, it's like, what is it, Gone with the Wind? She's like, it's always been you, Rhett. I felt like that. I was like, it's always been you, Sinatra.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I just felt my heart broke. And I just want to go back to that moment because, obviously you're not playing that, but do you think it's because you love Sinatra so much that we're able to have that moment where we fall in love with her again at the bitter end?
I don't know. Maybe I do love her, and I felt like those last moments where she's made the decision. I really felt her, like her humanity, like when she says goodbye to her daughter in the car, and like she knows that she's giving it all up, but nobody else around her knows, right? So she says goodbye to her daughter, and she knows this is the last time. And then she knows she's gonna say that to X, but he doesn't know. And it's all these moments of saying goodbye that people don't understand what she means by like the ultimate goodbye.
Yeah.
And I found it, very, it's the ultimate sacrifice, right? So.
When Alex tells you you're going to die, do you believe it?
I think she's just receiving the information, actually. I think it's like, she doesn't know what to make of it.
Okay.
It's sort of confusing, but like, she knows that, Alex is all-knowing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like making sense of that, what that means. It's more just like receiving the information, which I find interesting because, sometimes I feel like when you're acting, when you are given like information like that, big things, like the impulse is to like respond. But it's actually when we receive information in real life, sometimes it takes a minute. You have to process it. And there's any number of ways you can respond, and none are the right way. Like it's just how you do.
I think when I look at Sinatra, I wonder, at some point, she finds peace.
Yeah.
And my guess is that it's before the moment when she turns to X. What do you think? Am I right? Does she find peace at some point? And when is it?
Yes, she finds peace when she realizes that, or believes that her son lived his life in an alternate timeline. It just made it all worth it. All the, you know, that makes Paradise worth it, and all the, you know, conniving and the killing and the horrible things that she's done for the good of, you know, the citizens of Paradise and her family. And when she realizes, or when she believes that Dylan's still alive, it all makes sense.
I want to ask about a moment that's kind of hasn't plagued me, hasn't bothered me, but it's just been like a nagging. I can't let it go. And it's the moment where she's talking to her husband, and you have this very matter of fact, and it's not, you know, a lot of times when you watch a couple who've lost a child, right? And you watch them, and I don't think anyone really watches it in real life, you know, because it's too tender. But when we watch it on screen, we see the incriminations, we see blame, we see, we see so much emotion around it. You look at him and you're like, I'm really glad you're okay.
How do you do it? How did you heal?
I didn't.
You did. You work. You bond with our daughter. You read for pleasure. You can say his name without... You're okay.
So are you.
I don't think so. I'm glad you're okay.
And we see a person who's able to be okay for whatever reason, and you profoundly not being able to get past that moment and past the grief. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because I feel like it's almost like she's been so isolated in her grief because everybody has seemingly moved on.
I think that's just a particular thing to her. I think people respond to something so awful like that in different ways in their own time. And I think, as you said before, like how lonely she feels in various moments. And I think that is so lonely making, even though she's also projecting, like she doesn't know her husband's like in her. Yes, it's okay to her. To her, it seems like he's okay. But he even says, he's like, I'm not okay. So she is partly glad that he's okay. And I think she's also furious about it because it doesn't seem fair that she's not okay and that she carries it with her in every moment of every day.
What was that like, filming that, everything, the chaos descending all around you? And when you read that, when you knew that you were gonna die, like, what was that? What was it like to film it? What was it like to read it the first time?
So filming it so a lot of it comes together in editing in the show. So much happens in post. And so even when I watched it, I watched a rough cut where it says like, you know, screens dropping from the sky and this thing. So that's like using your imagination. I'm gonna be very honest with you. So like when I read it the first time, like she dies, and then I'm like, why is there still 10 more pages? Why is the show still going on? That's like my ego. Just share a little bit of that. But of course, it's not just Sinatra's story, but I was like, oh, I see. There's still more story to tell, but she's dead.
I feel like the show's over.
Yeah. But actually, I mean, I love how Dan did that, and I just thought it was so moving. I loved the idea. I think he might have even told me that was coming, or an idea that he had at the end of the first season, and I loved it. Just like her making, as I said, the ultimate sacrifice, and the visual of the whole thing collapsing, knowing that she's in it, and you know, because her family realizes she's in there. Tim's like, where's your mother? And they look back in, and then it's like things are starting to collapse. So we know what's happening.
I think we also have to make sure that we know Sinatra did not cause all of this, right? Because it's easy to blame you for like the end of the world because you're so responsible for these 25,000 people. But the end of the world was coming, like regardless of whether or not Sinatra had anything like.
And I'm barely in episode 7. So I'm like,
So it's really not her fault.
Not my fault.
It was not every day that you get to do something that people love to love and not love to hate and not hate watch, right? Because we know that's a part of what we do.
Yeah.
But it's also to have something that resonates with audiences and resonates with their hearts, but then also you get the fact, you get to know that you're also making a good show.
Yeah, it was so
You
nice.
know?
Really special.
It is really special. And you make it very, 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 very special. Thank you for being our Sinatra. We could not have had Paradise without you in every sense of the word.
Thank you.
You know, literally. Like, and I don't, just seeing the character evolve and come to life. And like I said, her humor, you know, like, I was like, well, why is she so cheeky in this little, I'm like, you're like, the world's falling apart, but I got secrets.
Yeah.
Like this. Well, on that note, and all of the fine moments you've given us, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here not once, not twice, but 3 times on this official Paradise Companion. And most importantly, for everything you've done to make this series so special and make it sing. It's just been really extraordinary to watch.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And so we are going to land this plane, hopefully better than some other planes have been landed in this show. And who better to do that than my favorite? Are you my favorite? You're sometimes my favorite person. Agent Xavier Collins.
You like the kids more than me, but that's okay.
That's not always
Totally true.
And I like the real mastermind behind the bunker.
This is true.
The living legend, the one and only, our showrunner, Dan Fogelman, and he's appearing via Disney's own quantum technology.
It's quantum technology. Disney.
Yes.
For that ass. What's up?
Yes. There's so much to unpack about 208.
So
I do
much.
not know how you got to where you were going. You got there so incredibly, like, seamlessly and beautifully and but also, like, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Like, like there's always that moment where when you're writing it, like, how is it that you make us feel like we're not going to make it?
Well, I mean, we have really good writers, and some of this stuff is so outside of my purview and bandwidth that, I mean, we're talking about, you know, mountains collapsing and end of the world and quantum computers and all this stuff. So Sterling knows, and you know, Riley, we have incredible writers who they dug deep on quantum computers in a way that I would not have been able to do. I mean, so many times our writers would sit me down to try and explain to me some of the machinations of the computing, and I would be like, I was kind of like Marsden in that second to last episode, being like, dumb it down for me a little bit more. I need to. So I actually have a friend who is like a real heavyweight, like gazillionaire tech guy, and I've actually been vetting all this stuff that my writers have been coming up with through him, and he's been really giving us the thumbs up all the time. He's saying, "Who's doing this for you guys? They're getting it right." And
Really?
Yeah, and so I like to take credit for it, but it really is the writers, especially when it's the parts of it that are less me.
I thought until just now that you made up quantum computer. I was like, that is so creative. I didn't know that was a real thing.
Tell the reaction that you had when, I don't know if it was 7 or 8, when you saw Sinatra meeting and hearing her son's name?
What reaction was it? Because I was like, Dylan, who is Dylan? I said, is that the dead baby? Who is Dylan?
And then he said, like,
and then he said Alex. I said Alex. I thought Alex was the woman in the bed.
Alex is the woman in the bed.
Who couldn't move.
Alex is the woman in the
but
bed.
He killed that woman in the bed. He gave her the little injection and was like, I'm
That's
ready. And then he
correct.
said, and then he was
But
like,
then
make it quick.
But then she
But
said,
that's 207, sorry.
She said, hi, Alex. Like at the end of 7 into 8.
Hi, Alex.
Yes, I know, because she's creepy, but I was like, is Sinatra just being creepy? Like, who is this creepy lady talking to? Is she talking to a dead lady? I thought you guys were gonna pan and it was gonna be Alex and I said, it's a zombie apocalypse now, y'all. Oh my God. I'm still shaking. I'm still not quite sure that I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna leave here and go to therapy, not Xavier Collins therapy,
What you
real
talking about?
therapy. What do you mean?
What is Xavier Collins therapy? What does that mean?
What do you think it means? When you introduced your wife to your therapist?
Oh.
Dr. Tarabi, this is my wife, Terry. Terry, this is my therapist, Dr. Tarabi.
Hi. Hi. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Your kids are beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll be right back, excuse me.
Did you like that, Ryan? Did you like that part?
I
was, like,
know.
thinking
I did not like it. I was
Why not?
like, because you was like, we need to be
Did I
talking about-
lie? Did I lie? Excuse me. That she is my therapist. What was I supposed to say? The jump off that I hooked up with the one time because I thought
Yes,
my wife was deceased?
That's exactly what you were
Why would I
supposed
do
to
that on
say.
the first time that they meet each other? Why would I do that?
It's
Why
called
would I do
radical
that?
honesty.
Are you kidding me?
No, child.
You
I
shouldn't
would have
host-
told her. I
you
told her. I
shouldn't
was
host
yelling and
this.
scream.
Nobody should do that on the first time.
No, my point is that it was the jovialness. Oh, this is my therapist. I was like, you are damn lie.
For me, it was the quick exit. For me, it was that he's immediately like, I'm gonna go over here right now. And he just leaves the two of them there. And I was like,
They may
In
want
the
to get
world
to
of
know
Mount
each
Interest
other.
exploded. Like you were like, I'm not gonna let you out of my sight for another 10, 20 years.
I just walked around the
except
corner.
when I introduced you
I just
to the
walked
jump
around the
off.
corner so I could see the man with his baby.
There was a
Hey,
long
listen,
corner,
I've been
honey.
watching this baby for a long
Yeah,
time. I
it-
got to make sure he know what he doing.
She looks like her. She certainly does.
Does she have a name?
I've been calling her Annie's baby.
I like the sound of Annie.
208. So you said that you have a quantum computer is a real thing. Learn that right
Yes.
now. And where do you, when you say this is outside of your wheelhouse, but would you say that sci-fi is outside of your wheelhouse? And was this something that, because again, when we see season one, we think none of the sci-fi stuff is in there.
In the same way.
In the same way, right? But obviously there's a I don't want to say creepy element, but there's an element to it because it's the end of the world. And anytime you're dealing with any kind of apocalypse stuff, it always kind of takes you out of but because you guys are so good at what you do, it's always so grounded, right? Everything is just so incredibly grounded. So how did you make that leap? Did you know it's gonna be rapid fire questions.
Two-part
How
question?
did you make the leap?
Okay.
Did you know you were gonna make that leap?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I hear in your work you have a very big picture before you go in, right? So obviously you knew you were making the leap, but how does it feel does it feel like you're pushing a boundary in your own work, or this is something that you've always wanted to do in terms of bringing that element?
yeah, I mean, I think in terms of what we knew, I think I always know the big picture, like the 1,000-mile away view of the television show. And so when you start there, and I think we also knew that, Sinatra was going to have a bigger plan than just getting everybody underground. And so that led us pretty quickly to, quantum computing, like intensive AI quantum computing that can kind of stretch the boundaries of the fringe of science fiction and where AI and quantum computing could go. And that take you into a very science fiction-y place.
Yeah.
And so we knew that the second season would end with Sinatra dying and sacrificing herself to save the community, but also unleashing what her secret plan was. And then you start getting more granular and digging into the quantum computing. How are we going to do all that? But that was always the big picture plan.
Do you think you redeemed her? Because I know that was also one of the big things that you wanted. Like people had a very specific view of her. Do you feel like you achieved what you wanted in terms of giving this character an arc of redemption?
One of my proudest moments of the show thus far is like as the mountain is coming down and we're kind of, like showing her death sequence in a very different kind of way. And to me, that was if you accept that Sinatra's mission wasn't just to save 25,000 people underground, but was to actually house something and do something bigger, it starts making some of the evil decisions she's made retroactively make a lot more sense, right? Like,
True.
you know, and it's not like viscerally she's been such a bad guy that it doesn't happen all at once, but hopefully you start understanding what she was trying to do, and then hopefully redeem her a little.
Was Sinatra redeemed for you at the end?
So
of
you know
season
what's
eight?
so funny? Because there's an episode where she goes to see the woman who just gave birth, and the woman's like, "Can you hold my baby?" And I was like, "Don't let that woman hold your baby. You can't trust that woman." And then the whole episode, I was like, "Shoot her, get her, kill her." And then the minute she was like, "I'm gonna sacrifice myself," I was like, "Not Sinatra."
The only way to close the doors is from inside control, which means whoever activates them has to stay behind and go down with the ship. Agent Collins, it's been a pleasure.
And you know where the turn was for me? When she says, "Not my finest moment."
Yeah.
I was like,
Talking to
when she was talking to you, and you were like, "You remember when you had my baby and you were gonna kill my daughter?" And she was like, "Yeah, facts. Not a good look." And I was like, "Okay,
That's all it took.
that's all it took." I was like, "Okay, girl, I like you."
Our last meeting was so fraught.
You mean when you thought you killed my daughter and almost blew your fucking brains out?
Not my finest hour.
You know when I really like her is it's you know, you think about this character like has had the weight of trying to do something massive that she can't tell anybody about.
Yeah.
And so you relitigate some of the things she's done, but it's been this burden that she's been carrying, and she lost a child. I mean, she was so likable, like she was so not likable is not the word world, but you felt for her when you were in the episode where she was losing her child in the second episode of the series.
Yeah.
And so it was born out of that, and then this quest to kind of save the world. And for me, like after that moment where she sees Dylan and she goes home to her husband, and like Julianne is always like she's so great, but you never get to see her really light in the show, like really light. Yeah. And when she's kind of giggly with her husband and they're like gonna go into the bedroom together, and she's like, "I think our son is okay. I think everything is gonna be okay." Like she's finally like taking that burden off her shoulders a little bit. She thinks it's working, and you're like, "Oh, there's like the real version of her that we haven't seen since the bar in episode 2 where she met her husband." And I thought it was such a nice color to see on her before the end.
You okay?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Okay.
I can't explain it, but I think Dylan is too.
I wouldn't quite use the word redemption, but I think that there was an understanding and, as an audience member, a true sadness, right? It wasn't like we were happy to see her go. I was like, ugh, like I would have, you left us wanting just enough. I was like, I could have had 7.5 more minutes screen time. So back to the sci-fi of it all, because you allow yourself to go into all of these different genres as a writer, as a creator, as a mind, as a thinker. How do you feel like you give yourself permission to do that? And and is it just because at this point you're like, you dance, so you can do whatever you want. But not everybody, even when they are the Dans of the world.
Yeah.
Like that's my inner voice for you. The
That's
Dan,
good.
you're a Dan, you know?
Very
But
nice.
even when you are a Dan, you still, the world doesn't always still just give you permission to move outside of what they think you are and what they think you should write.
Well, I think part of the good news about not being in front of the cameras is there's no real expectation of what people expect from you because nobody knows who you are. And I think that early in my career I've always just found it interesting. If I have the ability, I wouldn't want to go. I mean, Sterling and I talked about this. I don't think an actor would necessarily want to come off of This Is Us and go do another family drama.
Right.
And so as a writer, I felt like sometimes you feel like you empty the well. Sometimes I've never quite felt like I have a genre that I love more than any other genre. Like I love a good dramedy, obviously. Like my favorite scenes, even in Paradise, are going to be the scenes between two characters, when they're having a bromance or a love, like kind of a like those are always going to be the things that really get me. So I like all these genres. And so my thing is it's fun to go and attack them and then hopefully bring the thing that you do intrinsically into that genre. Like, this is a, post-apocalyptic thriller and a sci-fi show and all those things. But I think hopefully people are really drawn to the humanity and the heart inside of it and inside of the relationships. And so that's been fun. I started out doing animation, and it would have been really easy for me to stick with that.
Tell them what you did, Dan. Tell them the stuff you did.
I wrote animated films for Pixar and Disney, Cars and Tangled.
Yeah, you did.
Those were early in my career.
Don't forget Bolt.
And Bolt, one of my favorites.
Like my favorite movie. Every time it gets me, I'm like, that movie devastates me every time. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I started out doing those, and it would have been, and it's a very collaborative medium that's very rewarding, because these movies are still the few movies that come out in movie theaters and people go and watch them en masse. But at a certain point, even though I loved it, I was like, I want to go do something else. And then I went into half hour. I was making a bunch of films and TV shows, primarily half-hour comedies. And then at a certain point, I was like, okay, I've done that a little bit. I'd like to try something that stretches my dramatic stuff a little bit more. And I went and did This Is Us. And so I like just trying new stuff. And I don't think it's necessarily that different. If you strip away what people like about the shows, it's probably a similar type of thing. But I watch these shows, so I like to try them, but there's certain ones I can't do.
I don't think there's anything
What would you say is out of your wheelhouse?
I probably wouldn't be really good at writing a horror movie.
No?
Unless it was maybe like a Scream type movie, like if it was funnier or like, but I don't think it's intrinsic to me.
Well, don't sell yourself
really,
short. I don't know.
I don't know.
You think you could do something like Norman Lear, like a Sanford and Son or Jeffersons?
Yeah, because if you've done half hours,
with
but have
just
they been...
black people, with no other black people in the writer's room to help.
Yeah.
Don't hang yourself out like that.
No.
So he'd have some black people.
You're being, no.
I'm just trying to make it interesting.
I wanna tell you guys a secret. When they approached me about the podcast, I was really, 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 really hesitant to say yes, because I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, there's absolutely no way they're going to top season 1. There's such a magic, right? There's such a magic in season 1.
Yeah.
There's such a magic in all of your work. How do you not sit there and go, well, that was pretty damn good. I don't even know if I can top that. Like, how do you then say, all right, we got to write season 2, because it was so good. And I was like, and then you did it. Like, because we've all watched it at this point, you did it. It's not like you just were like, okay, well, there's no sophomoric slump. There's none of that. Like, you actually took the ball and you took it to the next level. How do you do that?
Well, you work really hard. I mean, I think you keep all the same people that made the show the first time around, who really care. I mean, I think my great superpower as a showrunner has been finding people that we all know what we're doing and what we're not doing. We're not, we're not solving, all the myriad of crises in the world, and we know what we're doing and what we're not doing, but we treat the job like it's the most serious thing in the world. I hire people who care so much, and there's something to be said for that. They're not just looking to wait for the moment where I say I'm good, and then they've done their job. If I'm satisfied, they want to challenge me. They want to make it better, and so that's a part of it. I mean, when a show, we're also aware that, like, even though Sterling and I have had 2 in a row that have done it, like, you don't get the opportunity where a show crosses through a little bit into the culture a little bit, where people are actually watching it and talking about it. So when you hit that, you want to, there's a responsibility to serve that and to keep serving it. I mean, on this particular show, we took some real chances. I mean, it's a different show in the second season than it was the first season by the nature of where we go. We knew that. I knew that there would even be there could be a slightly polarized reaction to that when you do something that's different. Like when you're only doing 8 episodes and you're coming back after a year off the air and your first episode has no characters that you recognize in it. Like that's kind of that's aggressive, right? And so like the only way it's going to work is if it's really good. And then we were smart enough to be like, all right, episode 2, we're going to give them like a huge dose of Sterling, because that's what, people are invested in his journey and that guy and that character. So if episode 1 does this thing, we have to execute it really, really artfully. And Shailene and our crew and Thomas did that.
Wonderful.
And then we're like, in episode 2, we're going to give them, and I've told Sterling this, like, we're going to give him action adventure Xavier, and we're going to give him like romantic comedy Xavier in the same episode. So there's a very strategic plan to how we do things. Like, and then episode 3, we're like, you know what? They're going to be missing the bunker.
Yeah, man.
And they're going to be missing those characters. So we're going to give them a huge dose of that. So hopefully those 3 episodes will give everybody the full, the poo-poo platter of like Paradise.
Here's another thing that I would say to your question that Dan did not say. I think both with This Is Us and with Paradise, he has a set number in his head of episodes, and he has an end point that he's building to, where I think a lot of television is meant to be open-ended and just sort of keep it going as long as possible. Dan has a story in his head that he wants to tell, and I think because of that, each episode gets to build upon something, and there's very little filler. So, there's only 18 episodes on the network show, only 8 episodes on this show, and each one moves the plot forward in a very real way. And I think because of that, Dan, that also might be, if I may, part of the secret sauce to your success. And those two in particular.
Yeah.
And on Paradise, what's been neat about it is having even less episodes than we had on This Is Us. It allows me to, with the writers, like sometimes move up stuff without fear of running out of story and challenging it. So like, as an example in this season, like, I don't think we were really planning on having Jane kill President Baines in the 3rd episode, which is ostensibly the first episode back in the bunker city. But as we started putting it up, I was like, let's do it right here at the end of our first episode back, and then just like launch all these different storylines. So you're constantly giving the audience these big moments and it's not why we're doing it. I'm not doing it so they'll just want to click on the next episode on their Hulu account, but like it does, this show allows for us to speed up our storytelling in a way that really just keeps it like smacking you in the face and not giving you a lot of time to breathe, because there's huge things happening at the end of every episode.
That's what it feels like. I would be remiss when we were talking about secret sauce. I have to bring this up. You guys obviously have worked together before, but not only have you worked together, but you have such a chemistry as writer, creator, as actor, creator, as 2 artists who've come together. Like, can you both speak to that? And can you also, Dan, tell us, like, because apparently you had Sterling in mind before you even like went to anybody else, and like you let him, he was one of the first people to read the script outside of Sid, and so can you guys just touch a little bit the incredible and extraordinary chemistry that you guys have, and the growth of that, and how it's led us to this moment of the birth of Xavier in Paradise, and all of the things that we love about the show.
I think Sterling and I have been asked a lot about this on Paradise because it's our second back-to-back kind of TV show together. I mean, I think it starts with a lot of trust and respect of each other's skill set. I think, like, for me, we have very little conversation about Sterling's performance or the scripts. Like, I think there's a lot of trust on both of our ends, where it's like I hear him in my brain as I'm writing so much. And
you hear his voice, Sterling, as Xavier? Do you hear him, Sterling, over your shoulder going, "That's good, Dan"?
No, not that. I hear him reading the words, and I'm writing it. I'm writing it in his rhythm. And I think at the beginning of Paradise, I was probably more writing, Sterling, hearing a darker version of Randall, and then within an episode of seeing him doing it, now I have his voice as Xavier, and it happens very quickly for me like that. I can sometimes tell you exactly how Sterling's going to do something before I've seen him do it. Not because he's predictable, but because I think we've hit a symbiosis kind of thing that's happening, where it's like I'll write stuff in a rhythm, and then oftentimes he'll surprise me and it will be different and it will be better. And so I think there's a mutual trust that way. I'm doing new shows, and I do other projects right now, and sometimes you only see it afterwards. And I think I had that with all the actors on This Is Us, this very special kind of trust that we were all in a rhythm together. We were all just playing music together in like this jazz band that didn't need to talk about what we were going to do ahead. And that's carried over for Sterling and I on this one and deepened because you do other projects and you realize how much conversation there is about people trying to get underneath the writing, change the writing,
Right.
people trying to affect another person's performance. And Sterling and I have just been in lockstep on this for now 8 years in a row on different TV shows. And it's hard to explain, but like when I wrote the pilot, I heard him. I heard a different version of him. I was at times like merging some of This Is Us, some of what I'd seen him do in Waves and other things. And I just hear him as the character. It's a very strange thing that I don't have all the time. I once had it in a weird way, even though I didn't know him. When I wrote the movie Crazy Stupid Love, I wrote it for Steve Carell, never having met Steve Carell, but having watched so much of his stuff that I wrote it in a rhythm for him. And I once did a movie with Pacino similarly, and I think Sterling like inhabits a space where your writing can kind of guide him, and then he can guide the writing, and it's a very natural relationship of trust.
I cannot believe what you pack into each episode. I cannot believe what you've packed into this season. I am, it's like we get to still have great television and storytelling at a time when sometimes it feels like we're not getting that. So thank you as an artist, thank you for the season 2, episode 6. Thank you for allowing me to not only be here, but to join and play in the play. Oh, thanks,
You did great. No, for real, you were wonderful.
Coming from you, that means a lot.
When you asked, like, you said, Jane, what have you done? I was like, oh boy, that was good. That was good.
Well, I'm thank you for your time. I know that you're writing this, the surprises, and you made it happen. And thank you for taking the kids to school this morning.
I did take the kids
and
to school.
coming. And thank you guys for joining us. I have had an incredible time getting to chat with my paradise, and I really do hope that you enjoyed being here with us as much as I enjoyed being here with all of you. Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming.
And stream Paradise on Disney+.